Good evening, everyone. Today we will discuss the gender of violence, dominations, and history of gender violence. Gender-based violence refers to harm done to individuals or groups that is related to how gender is typically understood. A damaging deed or threat motivated by a person's sexual orientation or gender identity. So, gender-based violence is the harm inflicted upon individuals and groups that is connected to normative understanding of their gender. A harmful act or threat based on person's sex or gender identity. It includes physical, sexual, and psychological abuse, coercion, denial of liberty, and economic deprivation, whether occurring in public or private spheres. Inequality and powerlessness, especially for women and girls, are strongly ingrained in gender-based violence because of these prejudiced cultural attitudes and beliefs. So GBV represents a major cause of psychological morbidity worldwide, and particularly in low and middle income countries. LMICs, although there are effective treatments for common mental disorders associated with, with GBV, they typically require lengthy treatment programs that may limit swellings up in LMICs. Gender violence in Asia. In Asian regions, gender-based violence or GBV is a big problem. As early as age 15, women in intimate and matrimonial relationships have been subjected to physical or sexual violence. Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Pakistan, and the Maldives are among the Asian nations where GBV is a common problem. India noted 40,000 incidents related to dowries between 2011 and 2015. On the other side, Asia Foundation argues that GBV is the primary cause of international killings, with Nepal and Bangladesh setting the record. This is because rules against domestic violence do not apply to unmarried intimate partners, which limit awareness and competence. So, gender-based violence or GBV is a major concern in Asia regions. So, women in an intimate and material relationship has been enjoying physical or sexual assault as early as age 15. 16 to 55% of Asian women report experiencing physical and or sexual violence by an intimate partner during their lifetime. So, domestic violence is the systematic pattern of behaviors that include physical battering, coercive control, economic abuse, emotional abuse, and or sexual violence. It aims to gain or keep control over a romantic or intimate relationship in order to intimidate, frighten, terrorize, dishonor, blame, or harm that person, regardless of a couple's status as married, cohabiting, dating, or hooking up. It can happen to anyone, regardless of their age, color, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socio-economic background. In history, one of the most noteworthy acts of violence against women is the sexual slavery that happened in World War II. Majority of young Asian women occupied by the Imperial Japanese Army were forced into being the sex slaves. women from Korea, China, and Philippines were abducted and used for military comfort in the Japanese-occupied countries. In Philippines, since the Spanish occupancy, Filipinos were locked down by Spaniards, especially women who have been in all kinds of exploitation. Spain ruled the Philippines for over 333 years, where the Spaniards threatened both men and women cruelly. The Spaniards saw the Filipinos as Indios, seeing themselves as of higher social standing than the natives. In the process of colonization, the Spaniards harmed and committed several acts of violence against Filipino women. Next. Okay. Dito ra ko. Okay.
Okay, gender-based in the Middle East. In the Middle East, gender-based violence targets women and is falsely justified by political and religious laws. Acts of gender violence that take the form of forced early marriage, rape, and domestic violence. Gender violence can also be found in instances where Sharia Islamic law is used to justify killing women in order to preserve male honor. In Yemen, for example, 400 women were subjected to honor, included by the practices of wearing hijab and refraining from using makeup. Failure to do so can potentially result in physically and verbal harassment or loss of jobs. Knowledgeable scholars of Sharia make it justifiable to rape, beat, and sell non-Muslim women and girls. There are highly patriarchal mindset that takes place in both religious and political laws make it difficult for women to seek an alternative option. Most women in the Middle East are financially dependent on their husband. Interviews with the women from the Yemen and Palestine reveal that there are experiences with young marriage included violence and painful acts of rape and sexual assault by their husband. Gender violence against women and female patriarchal values and beliefs attributes to religious and political context. As I said, ang Middle East ay isa sa mga bansang masasabi nating hindi pantay ang trato ng lalaki sa mga babae. Example sa Yemen at Arabia. Kaya kung diriya sa Pilipinas is equal ang mga babae, kumbaga na sila kalayaan nga mo choose kung kano sa silang kaslon o kinsa ilang pakaslan. Kabaliktaran sa Middle East in terms of their political and religious laws. Example is Sharia or Islamic law. Sharia has been used to restrict women in freedoms countries such as Yemen and Saudi Arabia. Kumbaga because of this law, ang mga babae sa Middle East is dili sila kabuhat kanus sila kaslon kinsa ilang asawahon pakaslan ilay edad kortahan ba o dili. Kumbaga gina-force sila early marriage. Maong kasagar babae dito is bata pa is kaslo na because it is the part of their culture. Mao nga na sila ang mga babae po is na sila ginasuot na ginatawag is hijab. Wearing hijab is a head covering scarf that some of Muslim wears is public to maintain modesty and privacy from unrelated males. Kumbaga, kung mabantayan nyo is sa labihan din sa Saudi Arabia is kasagaran mga babae ito is nagasuot og hijab. Ginatago nila ilang buhok, liog, tanan lawas, except lang silang mata. Kay ginaserve na silang ang mga babae is ilang ginahatag ang ilang kaugalingon sa ilang ala. And then, noong 1979, ang Saudi Arabia is one of the country that kumbaga kung naimo gawas dito tapos wala nagasuotan ng hijab is pwede sila, as I said, patyon or ilubong og buhi. Most of the women in the Middle East is nakaasa lang sa ilang mga asawa. Unlike diri sa Pilipinas is halos mga babae is nagatrabaho, nagasustenta na. Because of their culture of the Middle East about early marriage, ang mga babae dito is usually experience painful acts of rape and sexual assault by their husband. Siyempre, wala pa sila kabalo is about early marriage because it is a part of their culture. And then, next. Okay. A silent epidemic, Oceania. Gender violence seems to have reached a particularly significant moment in Australia, but violence against women is often represented as timeless and universal phenomenon. This creates the perception that the problem is too large to fix or that they only have the worst. Okay.
Makita?
Sige pa. Kontrol lang ako, basa.
Ako na to ikat.
Lagi. Okay.
Na.
A silent epidemic in Oceania. Gender violence seems to have reached a particular significant. Pakikuan. Balik. Ano? Sama na?
It lang. Yawa na yan ako sa...
Taas na siguro, bro. Gibalhin.
Nagkabuang ako cellphone, uy. Wait lang ah.
Kira. Sige para yun. But violence against women is often represented as a timeless and universal phenomenon. This creates the perception that the problem is too large to fix. So, or the worst abuse are the worthy of attention. 2015, the Australian federal government declared that violence against women became national crisis, despite widespread social and economic advance in the status of women since 1970s, including growing awareness and action around gender violence. Its prevalence rates are alarming. Australian Bureau Statistics data shows that third of all women in Australia have been assaulted physically, and fifth of all women have been assaulted sexually. And 2016, nearly a fifth of adult women also report them had sexually harassed. Okay, violence against women is now widely recognized as a human rights abuse, not just in Australia but also in worldwide, and continuously increase every year, with the worst consequences for women: physical, mental, sexual, and reproductive health. This represented as timeless and universal phenomenon. This is a perception that violence against women and girls is too large problem and too large to fix. In 2015, according to the Australian government, the violence against women is one of the most frequent human rights violence worldwide. It is a threat of women's lives by physical, mental, and sexual. It is a threat to the well-being of their children with the consequences for the whole community. In 1970s, historians started to discover a range of source material on the everyday lives of Australian women, including their experience of families, sexual and other form of violence that remains alarming. The Australian Bureau of Statistics survey shows that third of all women had experienced physical assault, and it is unlawful threats or attempt to do bodily to another. Example, rape. And fifth of all women have been sexually assaulted. It defines as an assault of sexual nature, that violence, that sexual integrity of the victim. Example, gigunitan na lang kwan, na nagunit sa imong legs, bisan dili makaila. It is sexually assault, and according to 2016, estimated that people, adult women have been experienced at least one incident of sexual harassment. It is unlawful or harass a person. Example, request for sex, this sandal kaila. Marata.
So, gender violence in European. With high rates of sexual harassment, intimate partner violence, and domestic violence, the European region still face persistent problem with gender-based abuse. So, sexual harassment remains a current and common experience for many women in the European Union. So according to data conducted by the European Union, 1/3 of all women over the age of 15 have been the victim of physical or sexual abuse. So according to my research, the Fundamental Rights Association survey on violence against women show, dependent on the type of incidents, record an estimated 83 to 102 million women, or 45 to 55% of women in the 28 AU member state have experienced at least one form of sexual harassment since the age of 15. And 1 in 3 women has experienced physical and sexual violence since the age of 15. 1 in 10 women have experienced some types of sexual violence since the age of 15, and 1 in 20 have been raped, according to a 2014 AU-wide survey. Sexual assault victims experience more psychology effects such as low self-esteem, vulnerability, and anxiety. 3 out of 4 European women who report being stalked, or 18% of respondents of the same pool, receive policies intervention. So 1 in 20 women has been raped since the age of 15. And out of all women who have a current or previous partner also experience physical and sexual violence by their partner or the age of 15. So makita jud nato na daghan kay kababaihan ang naka-experience sa sexual harassment pero dili nila gina-report or naay naga-report pero gamay ra, tapos serious incidents sa ilahang simbahan, trabaho, or sa responsible authority. Ilahang mga self-confidence kay nangababa na, mga ulaw na sila mag-istorya tungod sa mga nabuhat sa ilahan ng mga unsa harassment. Next. Sexual violence in North America. Gender-based violence happen at alarming rates throughout North America. A lot of violence in the form of domestic or intimate relationship violence in which one spouse used abuse conduct to keep power and control over the other victim of Domestic Violence Act of Saskatchewan has been adopted as law in the provinces 1995. So makita jud nato ang daghan kaayo victims of domestic violence. Domestic violence sa Canada. Domestic violence according to my research. Domestic violence according to my research is violence according to my research sa Canada daghan kaayo mga victims og domestic. It can be physical or sexual, emotional, economic, or psychological action or threat of action that has influenced another person or partner. Due to the number of survivors who have come forward to discuss their experience and the lack of action taken by their school, the topic of sexual assault in school has gained more attention in North America. Title 11 of Education Amendment of 1972 prohibits 6. Part of it is pregnancy, sexual orientation, and gender identity discrimination in any education program or activity receiving fundamental financial assistance. Okay na ko.
South America on sex-based abuse. The high frequency of gang affiliation and membership in Central and South America is a significant contributor to gendered violence. A male-dominated notion of criminal gangs existed in the past, but new data suggests that the recruitment and engagement of women in gangs is fast rising. Women used to support spouses who were gang members, but today they are being utilized to commit crimes that were previously committed by men since their inherent innocence deters law enforcement. Despite playing male roles inside gangs, women continue to be the main target of violence and endure frequent abuse from their partners. To protect their personal honor and the honor of their family, girls in Guatemala may be compelled to with the men who rape them. Due to the significant influence of Christianity and Catholicism, it is also improper to end a relationship because of domestic abuse, which many women are expected to put up with additionally due to the strong influence of religion on those. It is also illegal to get an abortion, even in cases of rape. The majority of gender-based violence in South and Central America is directed at women. Although there are an increasing number of women who are gang members, the lack of support from law enforcement allows for this violence to continue, and the widespread existence of gangs also plays a role in the gender violence that occurs against women. Gender-based violence in Africa. Africa has an extremely high rate of violence against women. Over one-third of African women report having experienced physical and or sexual abuse in the home.
consigned socioeconomic circumstances that shape social norms concerning marriage practices, living arrangement, and the productive role of women are thought to be the cause of violence within the family, which affect women more than males. Males. With 132.4 rape incidents per 100,000 individuals, South Africa was also reported to have the highest rate in the entire world. It was also discovered that rape rates were high in Botswana, Lesotho, and Swaziland. One in four South African men who participated in a poll by the South African Medical Research Council admitted to rape at least once. So, ang Africa ay pinakataas o rate sa rape. Kaya niabot naman siya o 132.4 incident sa 100,000 people. And so, maura to.